Always at the beginning of my videos. Always. Sharpie. CPAP, what's up? You're the first one. Open the door, let dog in. Alright. It is Saturday. Stu Manchu, Nittany Lion, Pale Rider, Husker Trucker. Cousin It, Mo Miles. How's everybody doing? My wife and kid is playing Atari. Remember those things? We got the new retro one. My glasses on. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. You like the lyrics? I thought you might. I was feeling goofy this morning, so I thought I'd do that. I know I saw Terry at a museum last summer. Jonathan Houston, Shadow Wolf, what's up? Frogger, yeah, it's the Atari version of Frogger. What's it called? Highway? Freeway, yeah.
You get to drive chickens instead of frogs.
Yeah, it's chickens instead of frogs.
And there's no pond. There's no pond. There's no lady frog.
Big road, little truck trucking. How's it going? So, if you guys don't have any questions or comments or concerns, let's go over a couple of things. Michael P., what's up? So, we got our handy dandy phone here. We're going to open up the calculator app. There it is, calculator app. Let's put this on blue filter so I can show it dimly. There he goes. Alright. There. Now you can see that, right? Watching the little dog get his butt kicked by Flowers. Yeah, all them Travel Local guys are running the flower stuff for Bellaflor. Not all of them, but a couple of them. It's me, Gary, TK, hi, Michael P., what's up? Snowbird the lyricist, Little Viking Coach, good to see you in here, sir. Calculate how much I'm not going to make this week because of my stupid tri-pack. Shake my head. What was wrong with the tri-pack? I know it was making a lot of hellacious noises there. Thanks for that dang little song they've been singing it all day. Pale Rider is a truck. That's the purpose of jingles, man. They're supposed to stick in your head, so you're always thinking about them. I did Pale Rider a service by putting that jingle in your head, putting that earworm there, and now you have no choice but to go check out. And every time you watch one of his videos, that song comes on, you're gonna be like, ta-da, you know, you're gonna be like, cool. Christian Trucker, what's up? I would like to congratulate Christian Trucker. He is now with Advanced Trucking. He has entered the wicked world of the spot market broker freight. Mo Miles, you live in a great spot, my man. Pulling out my first load. Heading back to the East Coast. Great rate. Missouri is one of the top states to be a trucking company or a truck driver because, you know, I challenge you, go to any truck stop and look at the license plates of these trucks or the states on the side. And there's quite a few from Missouri. Missouri is a great place to have a trucking company. David Boggs, new company's doing great. I've grossed a really good number when I deliver at 7 a.m. Monday. So probably it's my best week since I've been with Like Trucking, but also it's been one of my top weeks as an owner operator. So that should tell you how good it's going. The rates are coming up just a little bit. They were here last week and now they're like, eh. And what helped was I used more of the short haul game than I normally do. Instead of the 500 and 600 mile runs, I was doing the 200 and 300 mile runs. So Now, there's a couple things. Dennis Bolin, what's up? Let's see. Kenny says, Steve, does your T680 have a PACCAR engine? Yes, it does. I had to think about that for a second. Big Rich Truckin'. How's it going, Big Rich?
Hi, Big Rich.
I always stay up and down the coast. This run may change my mind. I got noisy family members. So, Rich says, hey. All right. Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, it has been a strong week. I'm not pulling the huge numbers like Harold and James are, but at the same time, a little bit more selective, and we're going to get to a little bit of that. Okay, so the reason why I got the calculator out is when you're running a choose-your-own-freight. So, when you're running the spot market, or like Schneider, Choose Your Own, Landstar, any of those, when you're learning to self-dispatch, you got to dispatch yourself at so many miles for the day. Okay? Yeah, they're having fun. That's cool. They'll be all right. So, let's say, and here's what I've been running into. So there's these loads that come out of Springfield. They go to Champaign, Illinois. I know the shipper. I've done the loads for Schneider, and I've done them for Like. The problem with the loads is that a lot of them load at like 3 and 4 p.m., and they always take about 2 hours to load. Okay? The problem is that they usually load at 3 or 4. You don't get out of there till 5 or 6, and then the load is due like 7 a.m. the next morning, and it's 450 miles. Actually, it might be a little bit less than that, but it's about an 8-hour drive if you don't get snagged up in St. Louis, okay? The problem with that is that most of the time when you, let's say you get all but 1 hour from Champaign, you shut down, let's say, at 9 p.m. Well, if the load is due at 7, you either got to do an 8-2 split and kind of ruin your day, or you just can't be done because the customer in Champaign does not let you spend the night there. Now, if they did, that'd be a little bit different story, but they don't. And it's a shame that they can't schedule them correctly, because if they did, I'd be doing them all the time because I love the loads and they pay decent. That's where the e-logs and the paper comes in. On paper, we could have made it right. We could pull that off, right? Wink, wink. And that's where revenue drops off. And sometimes it's tempting. Like, for example, some people work for a carrier and as a company driver, and the carrier sends them a brokered load. Hey, this is the load to get you home. It picks up any time. Well, you get there, and next thing you know, you're like 4 hours late for the set appointment time. And what that was is the carrier grabbing the load, telling the broker that they can get it done, but then they don't. And they're just telling the broker what they want to hear so they can get the load, and then they deal with the consequences later. I can't tell you how many times as a company driver where a broker was like, they told me you could be there at 8 o'clock. I said, well, I just got the load like 5 minutes ago. And so when you're in a self-dispatch kind of position, you don't want to be like that, because, with a small company like, say, Like Trucking or Advanced, you don't want to have a bad reputation of doing that. And I definitely don't want to ruin this connection of the loads coming out of Springfield. So, is it lame that I can't do those loads because they don't schedule them correctly? Yes. But maybe, and I told the broker this, I said, we got to get these scheduled at 10 hours. And Schneider was not a problem, hey, Steve, because it was drop and hook on the delivery side. And so it's taken a little bit of adjustment. The first one I did for Like Trucking, I was like, wow, the appointment time was perfect. In fact, I got there an hour early and was able to pick up my next load, which paid really good coming right back to Springfield. That was the one I did the video, gloom and doom, whatever that one was. So as self-dispatch, you have to be careful because a lot of these rate cons have fines on them. Walmart will fine you a certain amount of money if you're late. Some companies will fine you as much as $500. Hill Rider was telling that story last night in his live feed. So, and then some carriers will start, putting fines. There were accounts that Schneider lost, or was very limited to the owner operators because guys were either being super early or super late. Because when you got such a high truck payment on the lease side, you're trying to squeeze as many loads as you can, so you're like booking tight. And sometimes a trailer search, or something like that will throw you off, and the customers have gotten tired of it. So you don't want to develop a bad relationship with these brokers. Right, Benjamin Duke, keep talking. Maybe they'll listen and make changes in your favor so it can be smooth sailing. I've called on 5 of them and told them that can't be done. But what's interesting is somebody out there is doing them. So it's either a guy that's constantly late, and here's the thing. I know the customer will not care if I'm late. They won't. They're very lenient on their appointment time, but you don't want to put yourself in that position. You don't want to take the customer for granted. What if they get a new receiving clerk? What if they get new loaders, or new traffic office people, that are like, what? Your carrier has been late to this load every single time. We don't want you pulling this. We're going to start finding the broker, and then the broker will start finding us, and then the carrier will start finding us, So you have to be careful of that. Maria Lynn, what's up? Now, even if like let's say you started your clock at 3 o'clock, then, well, your delivery's not till 9, so you can't really do it in one shift. 3 to 3, that's 12. You have to shut down by 5 a.m. You can't make that delivery still. So you can't do a third shift. And even if you could, that kind of tosses your whole day aside. So, okay, so yesterday was kind of I'm not going to use the word frustrating, but it was definitely a lot of work yesterday looking for freight. Because here's what I was running into. The times weren't working, or the rates weren't right, or I didn't like the customers or the product that they were wanting. Most of the time it was scheduling. They were either 300-mile loads that you had all weekend with, or they were 1,100 miles or 900 miles that delivered like early Sunday morning. So, like Uber had a whole bunch of those, that I couldn't make my clock work for it. I mean, they were doable if you had a fresh clock, but I didn't. So, Archie Davenport, what's up? Steve Berger says, hey, Christian Trucker, I listened to your Schneider videos today. Your last video kind of got me on track mentally, so thanks for that. Yes, Christian Trucker did his last 3 Schneider videos, and they were really good. So, then trucking companies need to charge customers for delaying their trucks in the docks, says Maria Lynn. That's an excellent point. Shane Ferris from Green Miles, he has a form that you can download. All you have to do is ask him. and he'll send you a blank PDF of kind of like a reverse rate con. In other words, he sends that to the broker and says, okay, this is our detention rate, this is our layover rate, this is our fine for this is our fine for that. And he won't move a load unless the broker signs that. And he hasn't had any issues. The dude makes a ton of money. His drivers make a ton of money. So the carriers can fight back. But the problem is like when you're, like for example, if I was desperate to get out of Henderson, Kentucky without wanting to do deadhead, then, you know, one might be obliged to just do anything you can, right? And so that's the problem. You're willing to put up with a bunch of crap so you can get back to where you need to go. And so there's a bit of patience that you have to have. There's a little bit of knowledge you have to have. If you've only been out here 2 or 3 years and you're booking your own freight, it's more of a challenge because there's a lot of roadblocks and obstacles and things that could throw off your trip planning. You know, like today I spent an hour in St. Louis because they had construction on 44 and it was a madhouse. Truckers YouTube info. What's up? Yes, Speedy, I am. If you do the 8-2 split in the one night, you screw up your whole next day. You're right. I read that Walmart is being more accommodating on deliveries. Right, and Little Viking Coach, that's an excellent point because a lot of these customers are realizing that first come first serve or a 3 or 4 hour window is probably your best bet. Now, if it was first come first serve on these Champagne loads, I would almost be dedicated on them because they're easy, you know, and I've got a good rate per mile, and I've developed a relationship with that broker. That broker emails me every single morning, Monday through Friday, telling me what he has. And usually the times aren't working. So, and I know that that particular brand facility has other places, like in Georgia and Illinois and Dallas. They're the same way. They're just scheduled way too tight. Mike Mentor, what's up? CPAP says I like Target because you can drop your trailer and leave and come back later to pick up your empty. Is there parking within 2 miles of receiver would work with AOBR? Well, that's it, Nittany Lion. That's one of the challenges that we face here because at Schneider you can pull that off. You know, at this customer in Champagne, no, there isn't. But it's drop and hook for Schneider, okay? And the thing with that is that there are moments when just having AOBR, you can get stuff like that done. Like my customer I do all the time in Ardmore. I can get there at midnight and still be able to make a 5 a.m. delivery. However, with the e-logs that we're on now, we can't do that. I have to at least go to on duty and do a yard move to move around. That starts your clock. Eight two splits still work with ELDs. They're easier with ELDs, Jim. I remember my old company that I used to work for before Schneider and Landstar. They didn't let us use the 8-2 split on paper because a lot of DOT officers didn't really understand it, but the e-logs make it cut and dry. So Benjamin Duke, Ferris upfront charges, everyone knows the deal or you don't pull a load. He and anyone else that puts up a similar idea gets hammered on Facebook.
We don't have 5 controllers.
I spoke to a small carrier the other day that used to do drop trailers, and the company took the trailer and all at several states away. It took him 30 days to get his own trailer back. Husker Trucker, that brings me to the point. I talked to an owner-operator yesterday who's done a couple of those, dropped the trailer for 24 or 36 hours to make a delivery. And I've run across that. There's a lot more of that because a lot of these customers realizes that it takes them 10 hours to load or unload a trailer. So they don't want that pressure. They don't want the driver in there like, you go, hey, my clock's about to run out, you know? So I'm seeing a lot more of these, hey, you know, the customer requires you to drop your trailer for 36 hours. And I don't do those at all. I won't touch them. You know, they would have to pay fantastic, like $1,000 a day to do that. And of course, they're not willing to do that. But then to be off site and not see your trailer, I mean, you've seen how these yard guys treat trailers. You know, I saw a guy had a customer the other day that they have those metal wheel chocks, and he was trying to drive the trailer over it. It was a drop trailer customer, or carrier, and he probably put a flat spot on the tire. You know, so I would not advise doing those kind of loads. Yeah, half the drivers don't understand either. You're right, Mr. Brenner. If your trailer gets damaged, would they admit to it and fix it? I doubt it, Mike. I doubt it. No, there's some good yard guys out there. I'm friends with a few of them, but this guy was like, I've seen some guys do some rough stuff with trailers. I mean, come on, you guys working at Schneider, you've seen how beat up those trailers are, you know? And that's the thing. If you go to a customer where there's primarily nothing but drop trailers, those guys are used to taking their time. They're not used to live loads, as they call them, because they know that, you know, they don't realize the driver's on the other side of that trailer. You know, I've been stuck at many places like that for 8 to 10 hours because they simply forgot that I was there. Cousin It, your yard dog? Well, no offense. So, I hope you're one of the good ones, Cousin It. Video the trailer drop and then check when you get back. Most operators don't even have accounting program equipment, not theirs, like they need to care, right? Camera systems in trucks are kind of a tricky thing. So Big Road says, so what kind of daily rev do you all on Spot Market shoot for? Everybody has their own number, and I'm not going to put my number out there. It's a little bit lower than what the other guys are doing as far as what I shoot for, but you know, it's what I shoot for, and it's what I try to average, but 9 times out of 10, I'm a little bit below that. So a lot of guys, no, I'm not going to put a number out there because like Harold's number is different than my number. James's number is different than Jeff's number. And some days you hit it, some days you don't, you know. But if you know, Jeff's done some good videos about how if you need to make $500 a day and you're under one load for 3 days, that load better be paying $1,500 at least. See? So that's kind of how you look at it. Whether you run 100 miles or 1,200 miles, you have to make your daily rate. And how do you figure out your daily rate? Well, if you want to be home every weekend, you count 20 days. How much revenue does that truck have to generate 20 days? Divided by 20, you know, for the month, divided by 20, and then that's the number you want to make per day. I hear you, Cousin It. 600 to 1,000 a day, says Christian Trucker. That's good. That's a good start. I start at $3 on 400 to 700 miles. I normally take 280. I have my own daily with 12% profit for shorter, but all I can get. Right, you know, and everybody runs different. Everybody does, you know. I talked to an owner-operator yesterday that he said he was running like these 20, 30-mile runs for like $500. It's like, how much fuel is that? Not very much. Like $10 in fuel, maybe? So, So it's all about net. It's not about gross. Yeah, I hear you, Big Road. My company holds us accountable if we damage stuff. Well, good. You heard that rates are really, really low right now. There's a lot of negativity right now when it comes to the spot market rates. The average rate, according to DAT, is $2.15 a mile. Get our calculator out. I have Schneider guys call me. Man, Steve, I want to get out of the spot market, or I want to get into the spot market, and I'm tired of these low Schneider rates, And I'll ask them. I said, what are you averaging a mile over at Schneider? Well, I'm averaging about $1.50. Okay, so you take 215, okay, times 0.65%, right? At Schneider, it's $1.39, folks. So if you're at Schneider and you're making $1.39, you're getting above the national average, or you're getting right at the national average. It's your percentage that's lower. So if you want more, you need to either get your own authority or work for a carrier that gives you more. But then, don't discount the cost. If your costs are higher, it may not be worth it. So it's possible, but do you want to waste your whole day for only $500? A lot of times, this guy told me that he doubles up. He's able to double up a little bit. So I've made that mistake where I'd done a 500-mile load or $500 load for 100 miles, but then it took all day at both sides, and it kind of screwed me up my second week here. But we're learning. We're getting better. We're getting better at negotiations. Now, going back to, you heard rates are really low. Sorry about that, guys. So, Diesel, hey, good job. So, right now, in some of the markets, I'm seeing $2 a mile is kind of common. Okay, I use the same kind of methods that Big Rich has talked about, where you take I've got the 15-day average package plan. Some guys got 90, some guys got 45. But I take the 15-day average. Let's say the 15-day average is $1,900. Well, I ask for 21. And then they'll go, oh man, I don't got that, Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And then, so I set my high number and I set my low number. So I'll say, okay, I've mentally already prepared. I've already done the math. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm not going to go any lower than the national average. And also I'm going to start up here. So if they want to meet me in the middle within $50, I'll do it. So I've been doing a lot better with that. And it took me a long time to find a load that I wanted to do on yesterday. Now, one of the things that's difficult, one of the things that I've had to learn to be even killed about, is that there are times when you get frustrated and you just want to turn the key and just go home, right? It's easy to be in that mindset, especially when you've had a good week. You're like, man, I've made a good week. I'm going home, right? So, or if you haven't had a good week and you're just so frustrated, you just want to, lick your wounds and go home, right? I literally had my fingers on the keys, and I thought, no, come on, Steve, you follow your own advice, breathe, as Harold would say, and just find some, do a 200-mile radius, okay? Obviously, all the stuff that was in Henderson was disappearing, or the times didn't work right, or there was too much time for 300 miles, stuff like that. So I deadheaded 200 miles to St. Louis, picked up a load, gets me right through the house for tonight. I'll leave out tomorrow morning, and I go to Oklahoma, And I'm not too far from Springfield after I deliver, so I can easily come back here. So, because there's a lot of freight that comes out of this area. There's also a lot of freight that's coming out of Tulsa, Muskogee, Okmulgee, Miami. So, and that because I was deadheading 200 miles, of course I had to look for something I picked up on Saturday, which I thought would be a challenge, but there was actually a lot of Saturday freight. So, and it's still a decent rate. Even after my deadhead, I'm pretty happy with what I got. So it was cool, and half the miles I did were empty, so less fuel. Mo Miles says rates coming out of the Northeast are bad right now. I've heard a theory, Mo Miles, and what it is that there's a lot of booming freight coming out of Florida right now for the watermelon season. The brokers know that, so they know that they don't need the high numbers if you want to go to Florida. Most of the time, you're like, oh, well, you're going to Florida, so, we'll give you $3 a mile. However, they're like, oh, we know you're going to get good freight out of there, so, we're only going to give you $2.50 or $2, So I think that's what's going on in the Northeast. I pulled a load a few weeks ago, 40 miles, with deadhead paid $4.50. There you go. I've been seeing loads on our board from Groveport to Columbus for $2.50 a pop. They are dropping hook, could make $500 for about 40 miles. I've seen those. When I first started at Snyder, I know what loads you're probably talking about. They were going from West Jefferson to Washington Courthouse. They were paying $2.50 a pop. But the only problem is that the receiving customer wasn't great, and they didn't have empties, and then I ended up having to go all over hell and back to get an empty, so you couldn't do more than 2 a day. So if you can do 3 a day and it goes smoothly, that's an easy $1,500 low fuel. I would love that. Right, and this particular carrier, or not carrier, but driver that called me yesterday, the guy that owns the numbers is having a problem with this short haul strategy. And he learned it by watching Jeff and some of the other, some of the Snyder guys and some of us at and that's the same thing that Jeff kind of preaches, is the short haul game. That's how Jeff makes 90% of his money. And it's working, so he did it the other guy's way, and you end up losing money on that. So the short haul game, if you know your area and you know the customers and you know the brokers and you know what to avoid and what to do and what not to do, you can net a lot more. If you're only making $600 a day, but you're only using 50 of it in fuel, what's wrong with that? So CPAP says, I try not to go any lower than $2.36 a mile, which comes to $2 a mile after advance is cut. I hear you, CPAP. I hear you. That's kind of how I do things, too. Breathe, yeah. Yeah, Harold, I do need to give Harold a wrench. That's the big thing, listening and watching to build confidence and get a grip on money-making plans. Short and a few stops. Everyday loads, unloads, combo the two, or long runs for lower. At Landstar and Snyder, I've always been changing my strategies. There's always different ways you can do things. And if one market's not hot, go to the one that is. And the other thing that makes it a challenge sometimes is what Big Rich was talking about. He was trying to get out of Arkansas going directly to North Carolina where he lives. And when you're looking for a specific exact lane, that could be a challenge. I can't tell you how many hours I sat at Landstar because I needed to load home. So my strategy when there's a really important date at home, I'll try to run the really short game. That way, if I have to deadhead back home, I can. Weekends are tough to do unless you get a load to cover the whole weekend. CPAP, I agree with you. However, one of the strategies that a lot of people don't realize is that Uber, Convoy, JB Hunt, C.H. Robinson, the Macon carriers like Schneider, they all have weekend freight. Is it paying as well? No, but it will keep you moving over the weekend. So if you have something like today, I picked up on a Saturday, which really surprised me. And, you know, I wish I could deliver tomorrow, but if I had to deliver tomorrow, more like I wouldn't find anything until Monday morning anyways. So, Chuck Reynolds, you're welcome. You're welcome. As long as there's not an ocean container on your truck, right? Yeah, Big Row, go to my last video, click on the link, or watch the video, and then Pale Rider's channel's on there. You're spot on. I was living on runs to Florida out of Jersey, not now. See, it's. We're gonna be real here, guys. We're gonna be real. Okay, let me catch up these comments. Okay, Burger. Yep. Okay. No, I'm not power only. I got my own trailer. All right, Chris Trucker. Check you later. You can plug your phone in. Jeez. You have glasses, power. You could be the next Vasily since quit. Vasily quit trucking? Are you serious? Thank you, Brett. Oh yeah, CPAP says sometimes there's just no loads in the area. I'm looking at 100 miles of me from today up to Tuesday, and there's only 94 loads. None that I would want. Don't be afraid of deadhead. When I was frustrated with my day yesterday, I looked longer. It's just like Florida. You can't go down to, like, say, I don't know, Miami and not plan some deadhead. The trick is if you deliver Miami Monday morning, look for loads coming out Tuesday that are at least 400 miles away. That way you can at least pick them up and get the heck out of Dodge. And you're going to take a hit instead of sitting there for a couple of days. CPAP says I deadheaded 271 miles home because there wasn't any loads. And, and I've done the same thing. The last load I did before I hurt my ankle was like that. My appointment was too late. My delivery appointment in Oklahoma City was too late. And there wasn't anything. And I had to be home for Monday. And so what I did is when I saw that I wasn't going to get out of Oklahoma City, I started looking for freight coming out of Springfield that left out Monday, and I booked one. And of course, I had to give it back because I hurt my ankle. And so now I'm deadheading with a purpose. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm taking a hit, 300 miles to get home. However, I have something planned. You don't just want to deadhead out of a market and not have a plan. So these are things that you ex-Schneider guys, you have to consider it. Like I told Christian Trucker this, I told CPAP this. The only similarities between running the spot market like we are and Schneider National, their low board, is that you choose your own freight. That's it. All the other strategies are out the window. Okay, Jim. Wow, cool. Okay, let's see. Lanes change, so do you. You have got to respond to the spot market, right? Not just react. One is trained, the other takes thought. I don't mind deadhead, especially if it's going the direction I'm wanting to go. Right, and that's kind of what I did with this load. I didn't want to deadhead 200 miles the opposite direction. My strategy was, you know what? I'll head towards St. Louis, and I should find something by the time I'm there. But I didn't. I found it before I even, turned the key over. But both requires you to make decisions and learn from the results, positive or negative. Right. It's through struggles that we get stronger, guys. I'm a firm believer of that. Is the clutch wearing out in your ankle? Or are you getting an automatic next truck? I would have to test drive an automatic, but my ankle's really good today. Today is the first day I haven't had any real pain, and there's not much swelling right now. So, Pepsi Core has real light, nice light loads heading to New York State out of Orlando daily. Just got it, book it early. That's cool. And the only thing that I've encountered with Pepsi is they're hard to get a hold of. I've sat on hold for 15 minutes for them looking for a load because they got a lot of freight coming out of here. I'm just like, okay. So I have no patience waiting on hold. Syracuse? Okay. So, oh, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Okay. I know what I was going to say. For some reason, maybe it's because people thought I failed at Landstar. For some reason, people think I'm struggling right now. For some reason, people think that, oh man, Steve's having a hard time adjusting to this whole call the brokers. Oh my gosh. And here's the secret. I'm doing okay. Remember, guys, I was off a whole month. It did not hurt me. No, it's water. I have 5 brokers that email me every morning with a list of loads that they have. Every broker I've worked with is impressed with the amount of communication I give them. I have developed business relationships with the carrier, with the brokers, with the shop. I give good customer service. Now, is it getting me $3, $4 mile freight? No, but what it's getting me is consistency. Half the loads I booked this week were easily booked. They called me. I did not call them. Are there videos where I look depressed sometimes? That's just, I have resting bitch face, guys. That's why I was a good singer for a death metal band, because I have that look. I either look angry or look sad. That's why I was always single before I got married. Chicks don't want that. My wife's laughing at me.
You were single before you got married. So that's how facts work.
Yeah, I'm dumb, man. I was having a good talk with a guy named Edward yesterday out of Ontario, Canada. We talked for about an hour, I believe. And he agreed that business relationships is how you succeed. There's a lot of people that say that working off broker boards is a waste of time. You need to develop direct customers. Well, you have to build yourself up to that point. And could that be down the line? Who knows? I know, Pale Rider. That was an idiotic statement. I was single a long time before I got married. How's that, right? Burger. So, I'm not struggling, guys. Is it as easy as Schneider? No, it's not. Are there days where I'm like, what am I doing? Yes, but that's part of the growing process. But I've never had to call Jeff for help. Jeff, I need help, man. Just dispatch me so I can make some money. So, I don't know why there's this impression that I'm not doing well. I don't understand that, because maybe it's because I don't put my numbers out there. Maybe it's because you guys have seen more live feeds here lately. And, okay, 404 Trucker Dave just went live. He's at Stamford, Missouri, parentheses, Springfield. Someone ought to go to his live feed and tell him it's Stratford, and that, you know. Maybe I'll go over there and say hi with him, right? And, you know, CPAP, that's several times I've seen you joke about going back to Snyder. Are you honestly thinking about doing that? It's all on what your personal goals are, you know. Christian Trucker left Snyder because he has other goals in mind. Okay. You joke about it, so you know, maybe there's some truth to it. It's not easy. And you know, and I called Christian Trucker the other day because I knew exactly what he was going through. I knew exactly what he was going through. Because when it's so easy at Snyder, and then you come into this very volatile situation, it could be overwhelming at times. I've been there. However, you got to have a little bit of faith. You got to have a little bit of patience. And the rates are going to come back up. But right now, the rates are sustaining what I need. It's not like I'm running out there for $1.10 a mile or anything like that. There's like one load where I made less of a mile, and it's because it got me directly to the house. Again, we're back to that exact lane thing, you know? And like, for example, I was on the phone with Jeff a couple of days ago. I think 4 of us were. And Jeff would call brokers on his other phone. We could kind of hear part of the conversation. And we could hear how he was negotiating. You could hear, he must have called like 6 or 8 brokers while we were on the phone with him. So that made me feel better. I was like, you know, because you're not going to get the first load that you call on, usually. Especially if you're picky, especially if you're looking for a, you know, a really high rate. The short haul stuff is easier to get the high rate per mile. So that's where your daily rate has to come in. And then scheduling is a challenge too. There's a lot of loads that I ran into yesterday because I had started my clock that I just couldn't do because they were 600 miles away and they had to be delivered by 5 a.m. the next day. And I can't do that. But at the same time, I've run into guys at some of the shippers that have like, oh, I just turned my e-log off. I've got like, one guy told me when I was in Aurora that he had over 100 unassigned driving hours. I'm like, dude, you get DOT'd, you're done. There was one load that was priced at, I think, 94 cents a mile. There was another load that was called on by one of us that the broker only wanted $300. It was picked up Thursday morning. It was going 100 miles, and it delivered Friday evening for $300. And the exact words to this person was, good luck covering that. You know, there's this constant tug of war. It's a game. It's just like the stock market. It's a game. And sometimes you benefit, sometimes it bites you. But that's trucking in general. That's life in general, you know? How many times you were at Schneider and you booked like 5 loads and all of a sudden that first one canceled? Boom. You got to come up with a whole new string. Right? It happens all the time. How many times, if you're a company driver, that, you had loads canceled, or, hey, you're going to here, and then next thing you know, you're going the opposite direction. Or, hey, we're going to get you home, but you don't. That's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the business. Knowing your numbers and relationship is a huge effort to understand. Right, Benjamin. Challenge. Here's a challenge. Hey, Rudy, what's up? I heard rumors that you're leaving YouTube. When does CPAP get a theme song? Well, he doesn't have any music. If he had music in his video, I could come up with lyrics. I'm a great lyricist there, Little Viking Coach. Husker says, there's so much freight out there, don't let the brokers make you think we need them. They have loads they must cover. You got to find the right balance. You don't want to move for too cheap, but you don't want to sit for 3 days either. You got to find the law of averages. You don't want to deadhead like, say, 400 or 500 miles if it's not going to benefit you on the other side, or if it already benefited you from the other side. Chad Boblet did a power only that paid like $4,500, and the broker was like, "Why'd you price it like that?" Because it's a round trip, so I'm not going to find anything going back home, and I don't want to stay out here until I find something. So that's how you price things. If you need $2 a mile to sustain your business, you take a load to Florida for $350, and then you can go back for $150. Guess what? You're going to make your average. It doesn't do you any good to sit for 2 or 3 or 4 days waiting for that 350-mile load, because then you're losing money per day. Yeah, and if it's hot, you're burning fuel either with the APU or with, idling your truck or a hotel room. So each day that you're out, you're costing money. So it's complicated and simple at the same time. Math and business relationships. You adjust those two things to what the market's doing, what your carrier's doing, what you're doing, what your truck is doing, and what the customers are doing. You adjust the math, you adjust your business relationships. I had a lot of agents at Landstar that I was friends with, that I had good relationships with, but they kept losing their freight. Why were they losing their freight? Why weren't they making the right business relationships? Because a lot of them were pulling loads off other load boards. That's why. So it didn't create a sense of consistency. And so I had to make adjustments. Like, okay, the math of using these two agents isn't working, so let's find something else. I did hazmat, but empty totes. That was nice and light. I did fireworks. Another hazmat load that no one wanted to do. Nice and light. Usually multiple stops, so you made more money. I made adjustments, When fuel hit really high, I was doing nothing but light loads. I wouldn't move my truck if it was over 20,000 pounds. And so I was saving money on fuel. I was driving 60 miles an hour, So you make adjustments as it comes. It's a constantly evolving, changing world. And that's what you have to do. Will Burke, it's all lies, lies from brokers. There was a load. I'm not going to say who the broker is. There's a load that was going from Louisville, Kentucky to Anchorage, Alaska. This broker had it for $8,000. Okay. The problem was that the original broker that this co-broker got it from had it for $14,000. That's a big cut. And to put that kind of math out there was really kind of amazing, that to see that kind of difference. Now, if those of you who've watched my Alaska video knows that $8,000 is not a good deal to go to Anchorage, Alaska. $14,000 is the minimum. Now the brokers that people might say, okay, so there are honest brokers and dishonest brokers, okay? You have to put yourself in a position where you can't rely on everything that they tell you. In other words, if they tell you can sleep with the customer, verify that first. If they could tell you that you don't need a delivery number or you don't need a pickup number, verify that. Cover your own butt. Because if you do come up with someone, it may not even be dishonesty. Some of these brokers don't know their customers, so it might just be misinformation. And you look at the rate con, you look at the fine print, and then that's where having relationships with brokers that you know and trust becomes important, because then you could book a load and you're not even giving the rate con a second glance. So it puts less stress on the situation, You know that, like for example, I had a broker that I picked up a load in Springfield. Load was never booked on the customer's end. And guess what? They had no problems giving me a truck order not used. It was easy. I didn't have to fight them for it. There was no lies or there was no misconceptions. It was like, hey, we're giving you a truck order not used for this amount. Here's the new Raycon. Sign it. You're good. And do you think that I'm going to develop a relationship with that particular broker? You're darn right, because I know that they took care of me one time. Hey, CPAP, did you like the beginning of my video where I was wearing a CPAP machine? As soon as lower rates are accepted by drivers, it gives brokers more ground to stand on. It's a constant state of tug of war. Yes, Sergeant Ringo, I agree with you, but you got to find that fine line. If you, let's say you do a load for $3 a mile, and you sit there and you're like, I'm not moving this truck for less than $3 a mile. And you sit for 3 days, and then you just end up deadheading back to where you began. Now you just ran for $1.50 a mile. So why not get $3 one way and then $2 the next way? See, there's a fine line. Yes, you don't want to take something so ridiculously cheap. There are loads that were perfect. There were loads that I knew the customer, I knew the places, I was willing to do it, but the payment was just like, it was like $500 or $600 below the national average. And that's when you go, you know what, good luck. I feel sorry for the poor soul that does that. But some guy that went out and bought a $10,000 FLD and bought a 2008 trailer, he's absolutely got no expenses, they're going to take that and they're going to still make money. So again, it goes to your costs and your rate profit and your net. It's all a huge thing, man. It's all about math and it's all about relationships. I enjoy your vlogs because you come across so positive. Sounds like you have a great family and successful business. I'm envious. You are blessed. Thank you, Cousin Ned. I appreciate that. No WD-40 Pill Rider. Right, Mo Miles. That's the way I was at Snyder. I didn't focus on my My cents per mile, I focused on what I was going to bring home at the end of the week. Very true on broker ground. Knowing your numbers and knowing how the lane rates hold, you're here to make a profit, not break even or at a loss. Right, and and I've noticed rates are coming up. There's a lot of negativity around the rates right now, but they're actually coming up. I was in Arkansas for half the week this week. And you know what? They weren't bad. And how did I do that? I did 2 short runs that paid above $3 a mile. So that was the key. If the long stuff wasn't paying good, then I did short hops and just tried to schedule them accordingly to where, and there was my first Monday load, like that I did last Monday. After all the deadhead and everything, it wasn't really that great of a rate. It really wasn't. And of course I was coming out of Dallas, so strike 2, right? But then I've had the best week I've had since I've been here. How's that happen? Right? The only thing that really hurt me this week was I've hauled 3 extremely heavy loads. Legal, mind you, but barely legal. 78, 79. And so my fuel costs are a little bit higher this week than I wanted. So could you ever see a time OTR is paid hourly? The tracking technology is already there. All the wasted time deal with brokers doesn't seem effective. Little Viking Coach, that might be down the line. I think e-logs would make that easy. However, companies want you to be motivated to drive. Would you drive 700 miles a day if you were getting paid hourly? Or would you drive 700 miles a day if you were getting paid by the mile? That's the problem with that theory, is that you have a lot of people like, I make $200 a day. No matter if I drive 10 miles or 600 miles. So why should I push myself to drive 600 miles? So that's the problem with that. Rudy, I am doing well, if you're asking me. My point is I'll take a lower cents per mile today to get a higher cent per mile tomorrow to have a good week. Right. It's the law of averages, guys. It's really the law of averages. Hey, Barb, what's up? Sorry, I'm reading these comments, guys. CPAP's got a tri-pack. Little Viking says, have you researched any better APUs? He knows what he wants to get. Yeah, carrier. Is that where you get the word snore into your channel? Where Snore came from was, there's a death metal band out of Arkansas named VORE, VORE. Really good band. Good friends of ours. Great friends. They're out of Fayetteville. And Apnea and VORE would play gigs all the time. We'd play Fayetteville, it was like a second home. They play up here, it was like a second home. It was awesome. We traded gigs. And so the lead singer of VORE, he started a message board. Remember message boards, guys? They're predated MySpace and Facebook. And I was a moderator. And at that time, VORE had come out with an album called Lord of Storms. And he named himself Stormlord. Now, before I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, well, anybody who slept in the same room with me wanted to kill me. I am a very, very, very loud snorer. So he nicknamed me, made me a moderator, and nicknamed me Snorelord. So it just kind of stuck. And then when I entered the trucking world, I just made it my CB handle. And then I made it my YouTube handle. And here we are. So there you go. Why is Carrier better? Just curious. They're more reliable. I've had 8 trucks and 7 of them have had tri-packs, and they all had problems. I have yet to have, knock on wood, a problem with this carrier. Carrier is an all-in-one deal. You don't need an inverter. You don't need a bunk heater with the carrier. It does everything. It's the closest thing to having a generator. It is a generator. It's basically a diesel-powered generator that keeps the fluids cycled in the wintertime. It keeps the batteries charged. It has its own heat and air. And it's a less complicated system than the tri-pack. The tri-pack has too many moving parts, too many issues that can go wrong. And therefore, the tri-pack evolutions are they have issues. And every single person I know with those new tri-pack evolutions have had a problem at one point or another within the first 6 months. Go to CPAP's video where it's like making a ton of noise. So Jeff told me about the differences between carrier and tri-pack. He has a carrier, and I was sold. So when I bought this truck, I was like, we're putting a brand new carrier on it, because the last tri-pack I had tried to kill me. Literally, set my truck on fire.
I found this in my room. In my dresser.
The only person I know, CPAP says a lot of people I know with carrier have no issues. A lot of people I know with tri-pack have nothing but problems. The only person I know that's kind of negative on carriers, and he's not in here this evening, is Daniel Adami. He doesn't like his carrier. Michael Dow, what's up? Michael Dow, were you the one that was wanting to talk to me personally? There was a Michael that wanted to talk to me personally, and he told Jeff to give me your number or whatever, but there's so many Michaels I know that I didn't know if it was you. I'm not ignoring you if it is. Brenton, Florida, APU note. Also, the carrier has a 6,000 watt, 110 volt generator directly driven by the diesel engine. The tri-packs basically use a car alternator to charge your truck batteries and inverter for 110 volts. Right. And with the tri-pack, there's take and give. Take and give. You're constantly draining the batteries and then giving back the juice. And so the tri-pack promotes the fact that you need new batteries once a year. That's I'm not a mechanic, but that's been my experience. Every single truck, and I've had 3 brand new trucks, has had to get new batteries after 1 year. Because there's a constant take and give on the battery. So Daniel Nottingham, what's up? Snarl, that video got deleted by YouTube, and I don't know why. It's gone, disappeared, no notice from YouTube or nothing. 2 videos got deleted by YouTube without notice. It's BS. Mo Miles, thanks for the money. You didn't have to do that, but thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know what I did to deserve that, except talk for an hour and 10 minutes. James has got his cigars. I got my water. We're almost done. So, I was originally going to talk about trip planning, but that didn't last very long. Because, okay, let's go back to trip planning, okay? Have you ever had that happen, Snarler? No. I've deleted videos myself, but no, I've never had. Now, YouTube's done this weird thing. If I go to, like, my videos on my phone, it takes, like, 4 retries to get to my list. Peter Jacobs, what's up? It's your boy's charm. Okay, so what I try to do when I dispatch myself is if I'm doing a run, let's say from Springfield, Missouri to Little Rock, Arkansas, you got to go down US 65, lots of 45 zones and 35 zones and twists and turns, and if you're heavy or even going slower. So I'll do my average at 50 miles an hour. So if it's 200 miles, then 200 divided by 50 miles an hour, that's a 4-hour run. And then I'll just add an hour to it, 5 hours. It's going to take me 5 hours because you don't know about stop signs, stop lights, I always give myself 2 hours of BS room. Okay, I don't have a whiteboard, so I can't do this correctly. So when I book a load, I try to do it at 50 to 55 miles an hour, depending on the terrain, depending on if it's interstate to interstate, and it's a light load, then you're going to make great time, okay? It also allows you enough cushion that if you want to run 62 miles an hour to make great fuel mileage, you can, especially with a heavy load, you want to do that. So when I book a load, now here's the difference. When I book a load, that's how I dispatch myself. 50 miles an hour usually covers everything, okay? It allows time for the traffic jams, it allows time for the BS, it allows time for maybe a tire repair or something like that. Now, when I do personal, like, okay, I'm going to St. Louis, then I'll do it at 60 miles an hour. And think, okay, if I leave Springfield at noon, I'll be in St. Louis by 4:30-ish, depending on what side of St. Louis I'm getting to. And then I'll plan accordingly that way, so a lot of times, especially at Snyder, when you do a lot of open drops, I would put my ETA, let's say 9 a.m., but most of the time I'd be there at 7, So self-dispatch, and if you have a dispatcher, they should be doing the same thing. At Transland, they said that they dispatched us at 55 miles an hour. But every now and then I get that load assignment. It was 100 miles away, deadhead, but yet I had an hour to get there. And I've called to say, hey, that flux capacitor in my truck's down. So he goes, oh, the customer will take you when you get there. It's not a big deal, right? So trip planning is real important. So what I do is when I get on the DAT or 123 load board, I'll look at the miles. Let's say the load is paying, so much per mile. I'll look at the miles. Okay, 450 miles. So automatically I'll do 450 times, or 450 divided by 50 miles an hour. Okay, that's 9 hours. So I'll call that a 9-hour day. Okay. And so if the scheduling doesn't allow for a 10-hour break and an 8-hour drive, then I can't do that run. So when I call the broker and see that it's, and I'll check with Google Maps too, and then I'll throw in my deadhead as well. So if it's a total of like 550 miles because I'm doing a 100-mile deadhead, then I look at, okay, so that's 550 miles. That's I'm going to call that 11 hours just to be safe, okay? So 10 hours at the best, depending on the terrain. We're back to that again. So when I call the broker, the first thing I ask, okay, what's the product? Because we can't haul alcohol or hazmat. And then I'll say, okay, what are the times? And if they go first come, first serve on each end, I'm in. As long as I get the rate I want, that's what I'm there. I'm doing it, okay? So where if it's like a specific sharp appointment on the delivery side, I can't quite make it, I ain't booking it. So, hey James, what's up? So that's what I do. That's how I do it. And it keeps me from being late on loads. It keeps me from getting fined by the broker because we don't want that little thing going on. And it puts my, hey gear grabber, trip planning, you got to do it on the fly. And that's where experience comes in. James DeJong, he's got 18 years experience. He plans for 55 miles an hour. But James, I'm sure you adjust for like situations like southbound US 65 going to Little Rock, right? Especially if you're heavy. And you got to know your times. And you always want to allow for the 2-hour BS room because you never know when you're going to blow a tire. You never know when there's going to be a fatality accident on the interstate. And, again, those are situations beyond your control, but it's nice not having that stress too. So Now, finding first come, first serve customers, that's kind of difficult at times. But they're out there. And if I'm limited hours, if I deliver and I've only got 5 hours left of my 11 and like 8 hours left of my, or like 6 hours left on my 14, then I need first come, first serve on both ends. So that kind of narrows the playing field as far as what loads I can book. So, and and when you see something with big money, you're tempted to say, you know what, I'm going to do that load because it pays so well, right? But if you're late on it, some of these places you might sit for several days, right? Because like Walmart, Dollar General, CVS Pharmacy, Costco, if you're late, guess what? You need a new delivery number and a new appointment. And that might take a week. So that now that great money is turned into like 5 days of misery. So you have to be careful. So I am extremely careful when it comes to trip planning because I don't want, especially with the brokers in my area, if they know me as the guy that never gets it there on time, they're never going to shoot me a good rate, and they're only going to use me when they're desperate. And they have the upper hand in the playing field. So, and I don't want to get that reputation around here. So, just for Atlanta, Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, West Salem. Yeah, exactly. You got to know your cities. And the more experience you have, the more you know about that. The more you know, like, you know what? I'm going through Atlanta at noon. It's not going to be as bad. Okay, this load delivers in Atlanta at 6 p.m. Guess what? You better have your act together and go in early. So you have to account for that. So I don't take loads directly into Chicago. I don't take loads directly in Atlanta. Dallas, it depends on where it's at. If I'm booking a load that goes to Dallas or picks up in Dallas, I'll see what the time is, and I'll see what's the customer, and then I'll look it up on Google Maps real quick. I've got that's the beauty of having two devices. So I'm on the phone with one and I'm looking at the other, and if I feel that customer is right downtown and it picks up at 5 o'clock and it's sharp, then I won't book it. Service is the best product you can deliver. Right? You're absolutely right, James. So, thanks. I am taking the course in my community college at night from 5 to 9 p.m. It's 12 weeks. Right. Load planning is, a lot of these trucking schools don't go over load planning. A lot of trainers don't go over that. Your dispatcher tells you when to go and how to do it and hope for the best. But I'm watching Live PD in Springfield. I keep looking for Storm on TV. Is it 8 o'clock that Live PD is actually live?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I love that show. Man, Gear Grabber. I'm looking to buy some firearms because Springfield is a lot rougher than I thought it was. I couldn't believe it. We've had like 2 shootings on camera on that show. Dead. So I don't know how much longer they're going to be in Springfield. So, but Harold and I had a really good talk about guns yesterday. It was awesome. Because I know nothing about guns, but I so much want to enter that world. So, but I know you can, Gear Grabber. I know you can, and the only problem is I'm never up in Michigan. I should go to Michigan more often. You guys got good rates up there, I think. So, and I know Uber and Convoy have a lot of freight up there. So,
What happens when you shoot it?
but anyways, guys, thanks for watching. This has been 1 hour and 20 minutes now, and I appreciate everybody watching. I know that this live feed was a little bit more serious than my other ones, but it's all about business relationships, customer service, patience, faith, and trip planning, all kinds of things. These are things that I've dealt with this week. And like I said, I'm not struggling. I'm doing pretty good. I've had my best week so far. We're back on track, even after the month off I had. And there are frustrating days. We all have them. We all have them. I've watched Jeff make 10 phone calls and negotiate and not get anywhere with them. But then there's always that one that you get. So when I saw what I was dealing with yesterday and the situations and the loads were disappearing left and right because it's Friday, loads are going like that on Friday, I made my adjustments, and guess what? I found some. It pays decent, and I'll probably be home for my kids' orchestra concert Monday evening. So, Edward, you're late. You just made it in. So, we're gonna keep this video up, guys. I know I've been kind of tearing down some of the live feeds, but I'm trying not to put out bad content. I'm not, and I don't want to look like I'm bashing anybody. So, thanks. I learned something every time I listen to you. Good night, Peter. It's the trainer in me. I used to be a trainer, and I've always GPSs have taken the skill out of trip planning and mapping. You got to do it old school. You got to know how to do it old school, because here's something that happened to me Friday. This is one of the reasons why I had a little bit of a hard time booking a load Friday. This is what happened. I spent the night at the customer, if you guys saw my last live feed, right? It was awesome. And I didn't start my clock till I was absolutely ready to get unloaded, right? So they opened at 7, but I wanted to wait till late. That way I had till 10 p.m. to, drive wherever I needed. So, 14-hour window, right? I was sitting there, I'm on both my devices. I'm looking at maps. I'm looking at the load boards. I'm looking at 123 load board. I'm looking up MC numbers with Thunder Funding, make sure they fund them. I'm looking at DAT board. I'm looking at Uber and Convoy, and I'm going back and forth. I'm like Mr. Techno guy. I'm like, yeah. Then all of a sudden, it stopped. It still showed all my bars on my phone, on 3 of my devices, 2 phones and a tablet. Still showed full bars, but I could not get on the internet. I could not do email. I could not do, even checking Facebook stuff. I had no internet whatsoever, and it was like that for 20 minutes. And I thought, I need to move. I have to move now. So I went to this crappy whole truck stop 10 miles down the road. Now I've got drive time going. And it was just a weird fluke. So it kind of made me nervous. Like, man, I'm depending a lot on technology to run this business. I mean, we all are, right? But it was just so weird because it showed it showed that I had full signal, but I could not use the internet. And as soon as I pulled in that truck stop, man, everything went nuts with YouTube notifications and Convoy's notifications and all this stuff. And it was really frustrating. So I lost a lot of time for that. And Friday loads, man, they disappear quickly. Man, it's like I'm seeing things 0, 0, 0, 0 minutes on the DAT board, right? And on the 123 load board. I call them, nope, it's gone. Nope, it's gone. I was like, oh, man, I just booked that. So, and then I had to deal with lunch hour. Brokers go to lunch. Who would have thought that, right? So there were several loads that were perfect that I called on. Oh, he's out to lunch, man. I'll have him call you when he comes back. Well, I ain't waiting a half an hour to book this load. And there was one load that I did kind of wait for, but the guy never called me back. And when I called them, they wouldn't answer their phone. So that was part of the reason why it took me so long to book a load Friday. Even though I was in a good area and the rates were halfway decent, I had other circumstances that were affecting me. So you have to, that's where patience has to come in. You don't have to sit there and think, oh, I got to book the next thing or I'm going to go insane, And granted, I did have my hand on the keys to go home. I did, right there. And I did. I adjusted. I reevaluated the situation, and I cut my losses on Friday and picked up a load on Saturday. So, competition, yes, it's a dog-eat-dog world out here. How many times have you Schneider guys got an alert that you have a load and then you go to book and it's not there? You got competition as well. So, anyways, that is why Friday was kind of rough. And I say rough, I wasn't really stressed out. Like I said, the only thing I didn't want to do is a restart with no load. If I do a restart under a load, that's a different story. But, and it turns out I did a load. I'm under a load right now that I know the customer on both ends. And I know exactly what to expect. They loaded it correctly. It's heavy, but it's scaled out perfectly. And boom, there you go. So, Orion, what's up? How are you doing, my friend? How are you doing? So, Anthony T, you guys are coming in late. Techno dependence, yeah. And, but I remember hanging out with my dad at the truck stops in line at the phone, looking at the TV screen of the old DAT board. Remember those? And, sitting there with pad of paper writing down the phone numbers. So, but anyways, I'm back on the road tomorrow. So I'm going to chill out, hang out with my family. They're in there playing Atari. And, what game are you guys playing?
One called Beam Rider.
Bean Rider.
Beam Rider?
Oh, Beam Rider. I thought you said Bean Rider. What the heck's beam riding?
But a giant in a beanstalk.
Oh, man, I hate to hear that, Ryan. Did you get some tornado damage? Guys, I don't want to jinx myself, but I think I'm going to wash my truck and trailer tomorrow when I get to Joplin. So, Cinco de Mayo. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Follow me on Facebook if you want. Oh, by the way, here's a little Facebook tip. If you send me links on Messenger, I don't open them. If you send me videos on Messenger, I don't open them. There's too much hacking going around, and I don't open them. And if it's a chainmail thing that you've been hacked, guess what? You get deleted. So, just putting that out there. So, and check out my jingle of the lyrics of Pale Rider's theme song. And, check out his channel. And thanks for watching, guys. It's been a good video, and we can pick a weekend this summer, Snorlord. I'll take a load to Springfield. We can find a place to shoot there, and I'll teach you some things. Gear Grabber, that'd be awesome. Harold asked me yesterday, he goes, Steve, are there any gun ranges in Springfield? And I'm like, you can't throw a rock without hitting either A, a gun store, or B, a gun store with a gun range. And then, of course, we got the Bass Pro headquarters here. They've got a gun range as well. I would love that, Gear Grabber. So, let's do it. So, I hear you, Benjamin. I hear you. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. And, Ryan, I like that. We live in the city, so we can't quite do that. So, all right, guys. See ya.